Hundreds of people are doing unbelievable things in our country, and sometimes they do it under a blanket almost, undercover.
At his peak, Cliff Richard wasn't just famous, he was untouchable. Britain's clean-cut golden boy. The man who smiled through every performance, sang about happiness, and somehow managed to stay above the chaos that swallowed so many other stars. For decades, he was seen as safe, respectable, almost too perfect to be real. Millions adored him, the Queen knighted him, and his records sold in numbers most artists could only dream of. But behind that polished image was a man shaped by struggle, solitude, and a private life the public never truly understood. Born Harry Webb in 1940 in British India, Cliff's childhood was ripped apart when his family fled after India gained independence. They arrived in post-war England with almost nothing, crammed into small council housing, stretching meals so thin that tea and sugar toast became dinner. That hardship carved something deep into him. Even as a teenager, he was determined to escape. And music became his way out. Rock and roll was exploding in America, and Cliff could feel the future in it. He formed bands, took small gigs, changed his name, and finally walked into Abbey Road Studios in 1958. What was supposed to be a simple recording session turned into history. The B-side song, Move It, lit up the charts and made Cliff Richard Britain's first true rock star. From that moment, the rise never stopped. Decade after decade, hit after hit, 68 top 10 singles, 40 number ones, a career that stretched across 6 decades. Cliff didn't just survive the music industry, he ruled it. But while his career looked like a fairy tale, his personal life stayed strangely empty. No marriage, no children, no family waiting backstage. Fans speculated for years, but Cliff insisted it was his choice, his faith, his independence, his fear of divorce. He convinced himself he didn't need the life everyone else chased. Yet the loneliness was always there, quietly hidden behind the applause. And then, in August 2014, everything collapsed. Cliff was on holiday in Portugal when he turned on the television and watched police raid his home. Not privately, not discreetly, but live on the BBC, with helicopters circling overhead like it was a terror investigation. Cliff hadn't even been warned. He learned about the raid the same way the entire world did. The allegation behind it dated back decades, and while Cliff denied it immediately, the damage was instant. In a single day, the reputation he spent over 50 years protecting was smeared across global headlines. For nearly 2 years, he lived in limbo, branded by suspicion without being charged. Stress tore through him. He lost weight. He suffered shingles. He barely slept. He admitted he feared a heart attack or stroke. He said he looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the man staring back. The apartment that had been raided became, in his words, contaminated. He never lived there again. When the Crown Prosecution Service finally announced there wasn't enough evidence to charge him, Cliff was legally cleared, but emotionally destroyed. And he wasn't done fighting. He took the BBC and the police to court, and in 2018 the High Court ruled that his privacy had been violated in a sensational, unjustified way. He won damages, and the BBC paid heavily, but no amount of money could erase the image of his home being searched on live television. It didn't restore the years of fear. It didn't restore the trust. After that, Cliff slowly disappeared. The interviews became rare. The spotlight that once fed him now felt like a weapon. And then came the final twist of fate. In late 2024, during an insurance medical check before touring, doctors discovered prostate cancer. Cliff hadn't even suspected anything. It was caught early, and he later said the cancer was gone at the moment, but his words carried caution instead of celebration, because at 85, nothing feels permanent anymore. Fans noticed how frail he seemed on stage, how his body no longer moved the way it once did. Yet strangely, his singing voice still held strong, as if music was the last part of him refusing to surrender. Cliff says he doesn't believe in retiring. The word feels too final. Instead, he talks about stopping, because stopping means he can always come back. But the truth is hard to ignore. The man who once dominated Britain's entertainment world now lives quietly, mostly alone, unmarried, childless, carrying the weight of a scandal that never became a case, and a health battle that reminds him time is running out. Cliff Richard was once Britain's symbol of joy. But behind the polished smile was a life filled with silence. And now, in the twilight of his career, the question isn't whether the world still remembers him. The question is whether Cliff Richard can keep going long enough to outrun the ending he's been trying not to face.